Today we're going to be looking at the COYOTE Service Termination Point, or STP. We are going to be building the most common application, a cross-connect with one SCAPC adapter for a pre-connectorized drop cable. First thing I'm going to do is go over the kit contents. I have the kit here. So I've got my 900 micron pigtails here. I've got my cross connect kit here with one SCAPC adapter in it. I've got my grommet kit. Now this has my flat drop grommet, which is G, and then my pre-connectorized grommet, which is going to be H. My small parts bag, which has my latches in it. This is your application procedure. So this has all the steps that I'm going to cover today, just in case you need it. And then I have the main base here, the Splice Platform, and the cover. So they come banded together. So the Splice Platform, removable. I've got the main base, and I've got the overmolded cover here. So I usually start with my base prep. So I'm going to take all this other stuff over here, set it off to the side for now. So I'm going to start with my base. I'm going to grab the latches out of my small parts bag. So I've got my latches. There should be 5 here. So I usually start with the base, and I'm going to install the latches on the base. So there's this little catch at the top of the base. There's one at the bottom, and then there's 3 on the side. So I'm going to take my latch, and I'm going to pop it into the base here. You should hear a snap. It's fully seated into place. Then I'm going to do the 3 on the side. So once I have my latches installed, in a normal application this would be mounted somewhere. So whether it be the side of a premise, in a pole, wherever. So at this point, you would take this and you would mount it on your surface. So the mounting locations are located right here. We've got one on this side and one on this side. And in the case you were doing a NID application, so you would run a jumper out of this closure into your house, into your router, or what have you. There's this little port right here. We call this a knockout port. So this basically goes through the inside of the base to the outside of the base. And it's primarily used for NID applications, so you'll just take a hole saw and drill out this hole, and then you'll mount this to the side of the house. So now that my base has my latches on it, I'm going to grab the cover. Overmolded cover here. It does hinge on the left side here. So you'll notice on the base there are these 3 kind of posts here. That's where the cover is going to go. So I'm going to line up the cover with the base, and then I'm going to close the cover, just kind of like you're closing a book, and you'll hear a snap. That's how you know the cover's fully seated into the base. So you can remove the cover if you need it. You can also get this cover to stay all the way open, just like that, and then you'll go ahead and close it. So now that my base assembly is complete, I'm going to move on to my cable next. So I'm going to put this off to the side. Now this could be mounted somewhere. I'm not going to mount it anywhere today, so I'm just going to put it off to the side. So I'm going to start with my flat drop cable. This is going to be my feeder cable. So here's my flat drop cable. This is going to be a 1 count flat drop here. So before I go to install it into the Splice platform, I just want to cover a couple things here. So because we're using flat drop today, the strength numbers are embedded into the sheath. So I've kind of left them long here because I've kind of opened it already. We can actually cut these as close to the sheath opening as possible here. So I've got 2. I've got one on this side and one 180 degrees, so on the other side. So I'm going to take my side cutters here, I'm going to kind of peel away the strength member from the buffer tube containing the fibers. I'm just going to go ahead and trim it. I usually do 1/4 inch to 1/8 inch past the sheath opening here. I'm going to do the other one. Okay, so now that my strength members are trimmed, I'm going to go ahead and grab my grommet kit. So I've got my grommet kit here. I'm going to move my flat drop. All right, so my grommet kit. Now I've got 2 grommets in this kit. So I've got my flat drop grommet here. This is going to be your G grommet. And then I've got my pre-connectorized cable grommet as well here. So this is going to be my H grommet. Now you'll notice when I dumped out the grommet bag here, each of the grommets does come with plugs. So anytime you're using a multi-hole grommet, like this 2-hole grommet, and you're only going to use, let's say, one of the holes here, you need to make sure that you install a plug. So that's why the plugs are there. We do provide a cable measure tape with every single grommet kit. So if you're using a round cable, you would basically wrap this around your cable, pull it tight, just to verify your cable diameter to make sure it's going to work with your grommets. And then we also get a pack of silicone lubricant. So this will be used a little bit later before we go to install these grommets into the base. So I'm going to grab my flat drop grommet here. So because I'm using a cut cable today, I can just slide this grommet right over the edge. But if you were going to use this grommet for expressed applications, you're going to need to slit this grommet. So every single application procedure has the step-by-step, and it also has the slitting locations for each of these grommets. So these grommets are going to be slit on a horizontal here. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this slit line so you guys can see it a little bit better. So I'm going to slit it right there. And when I slit this grommet, I'm going to take my snips and I'm going to feed it all the way through the grommet at my slit line. So all the way through. Then I'm going to go ahead and snip them. So you should have a clean cut all the way through the grommet. You just want to make sure that it's a clean cut all the way through. And then I'm going to go ahead and install this on my cable. So you might have noticed that these grommets have like a step on them. So if you look at it from the side, there is a step here, a little bit. I usually position this step so it's going away from where my splices are, so away from my sheath opening. So the left-hand side is going to be my sheath opening. I'm going to go ahead and put this grommet on the cable, just like that. So now I'm ready to go ahead and put this into my splice platform. So I'm going to pull my splice platform in. There's a couple things I want to talk about before I go to install this. All right, so on my splice platform here, my integrated splice blocks are right here in the middle. 12 single fusion splices or 4 mechanical, so 1 in each channel. We do offer a splice platform for PLC or pre-connectorized splitters. So if you need those, please reach out to PLP. At the top here, you'll notice this hole. So this hole would be used for knit applications. So if you cut a hole into the base in the knockout port, this is where you would feed your pigtail through to go into your premise. Down here is going to be your cable restraint area, which I'll go into a little bit more. This outside channel is where we're going to route our bare fiber. And if you need to do any reverse routing, there is this little X feature here, just to kind of make it easier to reverse route in this tray. So because I'm using flat drop cables today, there's this little channel down here. So this is where we're going to restrain the flat drop. So in our small parts bag, we have flat drop retention clips. You should get 2 in every kit. Now I'm only going to use one of these today, so I'm going to put the other one off to the side. So this is what I'm going to use to restrain my flat drop cable in my closure in my Splice platform today. So I'm going to grab my cable, and I've got the grommet on already. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my incoming come in on this side, the left side of the tray, and then my pre-connectorized drop will come in the opposite port. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of position this cable so that the sheath opening is right past this cable support ledge here. So I'm going to do that. So I'm just going to align it here. And then once it's aligned, I'm going to take my flat drop retention clip, and I usually do it so the flange is facing towards the splices here. And I'm going to push it into this channel right here, and then I'm going to push it onto this cable. So you should be able to do this with your fingers. For whatever reason, if you can't, like today I can't get this in, what you can do is align this, put this clip in, and you can actually grab a can wrench. So you'll hold the cable in place, you'll grab a can wrench, and you'll push this clip on. You just want to make sure the clip goes all the way down, and that way your cable isn't going to go anywhere. Alright, so now that my flat drop is restrained in the Splice platform, it's not going to go anywhere. I'm going to mark my buffer tube to be opened here. So I usually mark my buffer tube to be opened right along this arc here. So if you see this feature in the bottom, I'm just going to go ahead and mark the tube here. Now, because my flat drop does have gel in it, and it is a 1 count, I've gone ahead and done one of these Splice platforms already. I just cleaned the fiber off. So let me grab that real quick. So here is my cleaned fiber. So once again, my flat drop is secured into the tray. I've gone ahead and opened my tube, and I've got my fiber is clean. So after I cleaned the fiber, you can tell it kind of wants to go in this outside channel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to route this to the splice block. So when you look at the splice blocks here, you've got 2 channels on the left side and 2 channels on the right side. So I'm going to bring my bare fiber from my feed into the outside channel on the right side. So I'm going to bring it right here. So before I do that, I'm going to do 1 slack loop around the entire tray, and then I'm going to go into the splice. So I'm going to go ahead and route this in here. Now this fiber is probably going to be a little bit long here. So I want it to sit in this outside channel. So it does look like it's going to be a little bit long. You can tell my fiber comes all the way down to here. So I'm just going to go ahead and trim it a little bit. You could trim it when you do the splice. I'm just going to trim it so it's a little bit out of my way right now. So I did not put a splice protector on this fiber first. Now you might have problems getting this fiber out of the channel because it is such a compact unit here. So in your small parts bag, you will find a little thing that we like to call a fiber pick or fiber hook. This basically has like a pointy end on one side and a hook on the other. This is a nifty little tool here because you can actually get in here with the hook side or with the point side, and you can hook it around that fiber and you can guide it out of the channel just to allow you to gain access to those fibers. So I'm going to go ahead and get that into there. So at this point, all I need to do is prepare my pigtail. So I'm going to go ahead and move this off to the side and grab my pigtails. So I ordered the 900 micron pigtails, and I've got 2 of them here, but I'm only going to need 1. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab the blue one. out of my kit. Now these are going to be a little bit longer than I need, so I'm going to trim it. Okay, so I just need the blue one. I'm going to move this orange one out of my way. Alright, so I've got this blue pigtail, 900 micron. So when I trim this, I'm going to measure from the end of the boot about 15 inches here. I'm just going to eyeball it today. I'm just going to trim it because I know I don't need the entire length. Just going to make it a little bit easier for me to handle. So at this point, you would measure from the end of the boot. So from here, 11 inches, and then you're going to remove the 900 micron jacket. So 11 inches here, and then you would strip this back. So once you've got it stripped back, I'm not going to strip it today because I'm not actually going to do the splice today. So I'm going to bring the splice platform back over here, and once you've got it, stripped, you're going to go ahead and splice it right to your bare fiber that's in this channel right here. Now, there's a bunch of different ways to do this splice, so I've gone ahead and done one already. You would basically splice this per your company standard practice. So let me grab the unit I have done already. All right. So as you can tell here, I've got my splice done in this 40 millimeter sleeve here. It's in the channel. Everything looks to be routed, so we are good to go. I'm going to go ahead and this is the point where I'm going to grab the adapter bulkhead. So I've got my cross connect kit here. And in this cross connect kit, I've got my adapter that I ordered, and I only ordered one because that's all I need. I've got my adapter bulkhead, and I've got an internal shroud. So I'll use the shroud a little bit later. Right now I'm just going to focus on the adapter bulkhead and the adapter. So basically, to install the adapter into the adapter bulkhead, you'll just take it and you'll just push it right in to the adapter bulkhead, just like that. And if you had another one, you would just plug it in right there. And then to install the adapter bulkhead into the tray, it goes right here in this middle section. So the adapter bulkhead is actually going to protect my splice here. So I'm going to go ahead and push this on. So I've got that installed. Now I'm going to take this pigtail, I'm going to route it in the same channel as my bare fiber, and you might have to get creative with the sides here. I'm going to route this all the way to here. So now at this point you would normally take off the dust cover cap of the adapter and the pigtail, test them to make sure that they're good, inspect them, clean them, and then you'll plug it in. So today I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to pop off the dust cover caps here. I'm just going to plug it in. And then I'm going to finish routing this pigtail. So I just want to make sure that the pigtail is not going to get damaged, so it's routed in the channel. So that's the basic cross-connect application. All right, so now that our splice platform has been spliced, the adapter is in place, I can go ahead and install this back into the base. So I'm going to grab my base over here. Now, normally your base would be mounted to the side of a house or, where have you here. And then you would bring the splice platform into the base. So I'm going to go ahead and open this cover all the way. Now, before I put the splice platform into the base, there's a couple things I need to do. So the first thing I need to do is I need to lubricate my grommet. So the easiest way I've found to lubricate this grommet, you just want to lubricate the outer surface, but you don't want to get any in the slit line. So I'll start with the side that is not slit first. I'll just apply a couple dabs here and on the bottom. And then when I go to spread this evenly, when I get to the slit side, I will squeeze the grommet together, and then I'll apply the silicone lubricant to the grommet that way, just to make sure that I don't get any lubricant in that slit line. So once I've lubricated this grommet, at this point I can go ahead and put it into my base. So before I do that, in the base here you'll notice that there are 4 posts. So there's 2 at the bottom and then there's 2 at the top. In the Splice platform you'll notice holes. So 2 in the bottom, 2 in the top. That's for alignment into the base. So when I go to install this, I'm actually going to start by installing the top of my platform first. So kind of just like this. And then you'll notice here that my grommet needs a little bit of adjusting. So I'm going to go ahead and push this grommet up, and so it fits into the grommet port. And then once I've got it aligned, I'm just going to go ahead and push this platform all the way down, and you can see that my grommet's fully installed into this port. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to secure this Splice platform into the base. So I'm going to grab my small parts bag here, and I've got some screws in here. So I'm going to grab 2 screws. So in the middle of this platform there are these 2 holes right here. That's where you're going to secure the platform into the base right there. So let me go ahead and grab my screwdriver. I'm going to secure the top screw first here. Okay, and then I'm going to secure the bottom one. Okay, so my Splice platform is secured into the base. The next thing I'm going to do is I want to provide a little bit of protection here on this upper portion of the platform. The only thing that needs to be done in this pre-connectorized drop application is for a technician to bring in the drop and connect it here. They don't really need to mess with anything up here, so this is where the internal shroud comes in. So the internal shroud basically goes on the top part here, and it gets secured with a screw. And it basically prevents the technician or whoever from messing with, you know, this pigtail or anything above here. So on this internal shroud, there's this little foot at the bottom right there. That goes underneath this tab in the adapter bulkhead. So you do your little foot here first, and then there's a screw hole right at the top. So that's how you secure that. So I'm going to grab another screw. So I've got a screw here. I'm just going to go ahead and secure that internal bulkhead. Okay, so now I know that my connection, my internal connection that I did my splice for, is protected right there. So at this point, I just want to make sure before I close the cover that everything is good here. And I notice that there's an empty grommet port right here. So even if you're only bringing in one cable, you need to populate both of these grommet ports here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my other grommet here. And I don't have any cables coming into this grommet, so I'm going to install the plugs. So I'm just going to push them through. I'm not going to lubricate the plugs. I'm just going to push them into the grommet. So I want to make sure that they kind of come in so the plugs are kind of centered. So you got a little bit sticking out the back and a little bit out the front. And then I'm going to go ahead and apply some lubricant to this grommet. Now this lubricant is just to make it easier for me to install the grommet into the port. So a little bit here. You can see it kind of gets a little bit shiny. So now it's lubricated. I'm going to go ahead and pop it in the grommet port. All right, so now that I've got my grommet ports, I'm going to start looking at the cover here. I noticed that there's this feature here. So, you know, the fiber pick we were talking about when we were talking about the splicing and getting the bare fiber out of here, the fiber pick actually fits right here. And so you'll snap it into the cover, and it's just a nice place to store it in case a technician doesn't have one and they need to get one of the fibers out, or they need to check something on the inside. This is a good place for the fiber pick. So before I officially close this, I'm going to lubricate this gasket on the cover. So you notice that this gasket goes all the way around. So I'm just going to take a little bit of lubricant here. I'm going to dab it around the perimeter of this gasket. And then I'm just going to work it in. Just going to make sure that it covers the entire surface here. So you should see as this starts to like get lubricated that it does become a little bit shinier. All right, so now that my cover gasket is all lubricated, I can go ahead and close the case. So at this point, I just want to double check before I actually close the cover that my grommets still have lubricant on them. They look fine, and that there's no dirt or debris in any of the places I just lubricated. So this is free of debris, this is free of debris, and this is free of debris as well. So I'm going to go ahead and hinge this closed. And then I'm going to go ahead and close the covers. So it doesn't matter where you start on this. Easiest way I found is you kind of start in the middle with this middle side latch. So you'll press down on the cover a little bit, and then you'll just push the latch to engage. So that's how you close the cover on that. So there are 5 latches total. So if you need to get back in, you can just undo the latches. Doesn't matter which order you do them in. And then you'll just open the cover. So it's pretty easy to get back into if you need to use it as a test point or what have you. All right, so at this point we're going to go ahead and add a drop cable. So today we're going to be using pre-connectorized drop. So I'm going to go ahead and open our closure. And I'm going to open the cover all the way here. So I'm basically going to take my pre-connectorized drop cable. I'm going to have to slit this grommet, and then I'll plug it into here. So I've got my pre-connectorized drop right here. It's got an SCAPC connection at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and take this grommet out of the pocket. And I'm probably going to use this bottom hole here. So I'm going to go ahead and push this plug out. And I'm going to slit this grommet. So when I slit this grommet, there are slit locations. I know that this bottom hole is going to be on the right side of the grommet. So I'm going to take my snips, push them all the way through the grommet. I'm going to snip it. I want to make sure that I didn't get all the way through. So I've gotten all the way through here. And I'm going to take my pre-connectorized drop cable. I'm going to push it into my slit. And then before I reinstall this grommet, I'm just going to add a little bit of extra lubricant here. So I'm going to squeeze this slit together. I just want to make sure that my grommet's not dry. So squeezing my slit together, apply some lubricant all over. And then I'm going to go ahead and push this grommet back into the pocket. So now that I've got my cable installed in the closure, I'm going to go ahead and secure it to the Splice platform here. So in my small parts bag, there's some blue felts and there's some zip ties. I'm going to grab one of my zip ties, and I'm going to secure this drop right here into this cable support right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this tie wrap, I'm going to bend the tail a little bit. I'm going to feed it underneath this ledge. Now this can be tricky the first couple times you do it. It does help if you put a couple different bends in your tail. Alright, so I've got my zip tie in place here. So that's what's going to secure my pre-connectorized cable to my splice platform. So at this point, before you plug in this drop cable, you would probably clean it, inspect it, clean this, inspect it. For this instance, I'm just going to go ahead and plug them in. So I'm taking the dust cover caps off. I'm going to plug my drop in. Now, as you plug in your drop, you might have to pull the cable out of the grommet a little bit, just to kind of give yourself some extra space here. So I've plugged it in, and you see this bulge here in this cable. I'm just going to go ahead and pull it through the grommet a little bit more. Now, I want to leave myself a little bit of slack here because it is getting secured to the splice platform. So I think that's actually enough slack right there. So before I tighten this cable to the splice platform with the tie wrap, I'm just going to wrap this cable in a little bit of blue felt. Now at this point you could probably unplug this cable. I'm just going to leave it plugged in. And I just want to put the blue felt right where the tie wrap is going to go, so in the general area here by the grommet. I'm just going to wrap the felt around it. Okay, so now that it's felted, I'm going to go ahead and push it so it's on that support ledge, and then I'm going to secure it with this tie wrap. I'm not going to go super tight on this tie wrap. Just enough to secure it into place. And I'm going to cut the extra off the tie wrap here. Okay. So now my drop cable is secured to my splice platform. It's not going to go anywhere. It's been checked and the connection is fine. I'm going to make sure that this grommet is fully seated. So I'm going to push it back into the port. And before I close this guy up, because this is complete done, I'm going to make sure that the other grommet that was already installed has lubricant on it and it's clean, and that my cover has lubricant on it and it's free of debris. So it looks like we're good on all of those. So this is good. I'm going to go ahead and close the cover and redo the latches here. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to discuss if I had a piece of conduit here. So I actually have an STP with some conduit on it, so let me go ahead and grab that. So assume that this closure is mounted on the side of a house and I've got, you know, this piece of conduit here. I want to try to keep this area protected as best I can. So I'm going to go ahead and I've already ordered the external shroud kit here, so I'm just going to show you guys how to install it, but this would be used for this specific application. So you have an STP, you have a conduit with some cable coming out into the closure. This just provides, this external shroud provides a little bit more protection for these cables. So you'll get in this kit, this is an accessory kit, you'll get the external shroud, some instructions here on how to install it, and then a hose clamp. So to install this external shroud with this conduit in place, what you're going to do is you're going to open the cover. So just like that. Now this is a splice only application here, so So I've got 12 splices here. So everything looks fine here. So this external shroud is actually going to go on the bottom here. So you'll see these little square holes. And then if you look at the external shroud on the top, you'll see the same sort of feature here. So kind of like a puzzle, you're just going to stick the external shroud into these pockets. First thing you're going to do is flip this bottom latch up, and then you're going to install the external shroud into those. And then you're going to push it all the way down here. So I've kind of got this all the way down, just like that. Then I'm going to reposition the latch here, and I'm going to verify that all of this is good. There's no dirt or debris on any of this stuff. It looks like my grommets are a little dry and my cover's a little dry here. So I'm going to go ahead and apply a little bit more lubricant to it. Just all the way around. I'm going to spread this evenly. Just want to make sure you get the entire gasket all the way around this cover. Okay, so now that everything looks nice and secure here, I'm going to go ahead and close the cover. And I'm going to flip the latches. And then to secure this external shroud to the conduit, I'm going to go ahead and open this hose clamp. And I'm going to secure it right here on this external shroud. So there's a band right here. And this is going to secure the external shroud to the conduit. So I'm just going to tighten this down. Alright, so now that that's tightened down, I'm good to go. So that's how you install the external shroud onto the STP for use with conduit. That was the completed build of a COYOTE STP with a cross-connect application and the installation of an external shroud for conduit applications.